Today we're going to talk about if New York City is forever changed. Then I'm going to answer your questions about moving to New York during the pandemic. Watch till the end. This is a good one. What's up, everyone? It's John. And with the COVID vaccine on the horizon, a lot of people are starting to think about moving to New York City or planning a trip to the Big Apple in 2021. But is it the right answer? We're gonna go through your questions. Will it ever go back to how it used to be? Will NYC be the same as it was pre-COVID? That's the million-dollar question, and my short answer is no. But you clicked this video wanting a little more detail than that, so we've got to break this down into two different perspectives. The first being someone that's planning on moving to New York City, and the second being a tourist who's planning a trip here in the next year. Let's start with somebody planning on moving to New York City in the near term. Will it be the same? Well, the first question I have for you is, are you moving here for a job? According to the New York Times, in October, just 10% of the 1 million commuters that used to come to Manhattan every single day are reporting to work inside of an office. So the real question is, what is the value of an office post-COVID? And a lot of people don't have an answer to this. A lot of businesses in New York City are starting to see the benefits of not having in-person work and saving a lot of money by having people telecommuting. Even with falling rental prices, which we'll get to in a little bit, is it worth moving to New York City for you if you could live anywhere you want in the US? In fact, with so many vacancies in Midtown Manhattan, one landlord group suggested turning the empty office buildings into, get this, residences. Now, you couldn't pay me to live in Times Square, but for somebody just moving to New York City to have a lot of the benefits of being in Midtown Manhattan, at least as a central location, yeah, it could be kind of appealing. I do think that the traditional New York City experience of having a crowded subway, of being able to go out all night, it's gonna come back, but it will take some time. Let's switch now to tourists watching this video, and let's get hypothetical here. I mean real hypothetical, just throwing out a date. Don't hold me to this. Let's say that international tourism opens September 1st with proof of a COVID vaccination. The first change I think you'll see is if you're staying in Midtown Manhattan, you'll notice a heck of a lot less people there commuting to work. That's something that even I, as a New Yorker walking around Midtown, has completely noticed. Even without tourists, just a lot less hustle and bustle in that neighborhood. And the same could definitely be said about Lower Manhattan, just because so many people are telecommuting right now. And I don't think that's going to completely change even when tourism first opens up. I also think at first you're going to find better deals on hotels and Airbnbs, as the hospitality industry is going to be very hungry to get your business back, which is not a bad thing. While the Statue of Liberty and Empire State Building are still going to be here when you arrive, unfortunately, some of your favorite restaurants may not be. Eater.com every month has had a list of restaurants that have officially closed, and sadly, it's like reading an obituary, and some of these places have been around 10, 20 years. That being said, when tourism does officially reopen, I'm going to be the first person to be pushing it to support these local businesses, because they're going to need your money more than ever when tourism does come back. What's yet to be determined are, will temperature checks and masks still be required at some of the popular attractions? My prediction is yes, at least in the beginning after tourism does open up. I also predict you'll need some sort of proof of a COVID-19 vaccine to be admitted into the United States as a tourist. So certainly when you revisit New York City, things will definitely change. How much they change still needs to be determined. Any sign of New York opening to tourists again? I've postponed my trip 3 times already. Well, tourism isn't dead in New York City. There are domestic tourists. I do see them from time to time. So it's not dead, but it has been slowed down greatly without having people coming from international destinations. Now, this isn't something that the mayor or the governor can decide when tourism is going to reopen. It's going to be a federal decision. It's going to be a decision made by the next presidential administration, and I can't give you an accurate answer of when you're going to be able to visit New York City again. However, if I had to predict, I'm hoping by the third quarter of 2021, some semblance of international tourism will be around in the United States. So remember, it's not just going to be New York City. It's going to be international tourism to Disney World, to Las Vegas. It's going to be all or nothing as far as the country's concerned in admitting people from overseas whose reason to come here is for travel. If you are booking anything though for 2021, and I know there are some of you out there that have already booked trips, do tell me in the comments if you've booked something already and what month. I am curious, but I'm gonna urge you, make sure you have a very good refund policy just in case. All right, let's talk now about the rental collapse, and this is a topic we've made a few videos about on the channel, and it's also something I've received quite a few questions about. D Empire asks, if real estate prices in NYC are cheaper than ever, why is nobody moving here? Well, you are right about the prices being cheaper than ever. Well, at least in the last 10 years. But according to an article by CNBC, more people moved to New York City this past November than the last November. And I think there's a lot of individuals taking advantage, rightfully so, of the collapsing rental prices. Right now, the vacancy rate is officially at about 6%, but truthfully, it's probably way over 10%, even possibly closer to 15 or 20%, because landlords don't want to dilute the market and make it look like so many listings are available right now, because then it'll give people that are looking to rent an excuse to take their time to be pickier. How do I know my rent won't go up 50% after the pandemic? This is such an excellent question, and I think this is a fear that a lot of people moving to New York or moving between apartments in New York has. My opinion on this is that rents are not going to skyrocket in 1 year or even in 2 years. I think that the vacancy rate is so high that it's going to take time for rental prices to go back up, and who knows, with telecommuting and the lack of having to be in New York City to be in an office, rents may never get back to the super high level that they were at. That being said, if it's something you're really concerned about, you could sign an 18-month lease or a 2-year lease to lock in whatever good price you can get today. Personally, I would never want to sign a lease longer than 1 year because, well, as we all just saw, the world can change quickly, or your world can change quickly, and having a long-term lease, trying to break it, could be a headache that you just don't want to deal with. Can you secure a great apartment from out of state? What tips would you have for touring an apartment virtually? Look, I personally would never sign a 1-year lease on an apartment that I didn't see in person. This isn't like booking an Airbnb for a couple of weeks or even a month. You need to be inside of that apartment, seeing what it looks like, looking under the cabinets, checking the water pressure, a lot of tips that we actually gave in a video we created a few months ago, putting a card above to it. My advice would be, go to New York City for a couple of weeks, get a cheap Airbnb or a cheap hotel, and see things in person. See as many apartments as you possibly can, because believe me, there are a lot of vacancies right now, and make a good decision. But I would never agree to sign a 1-year lease on an apartment that I actually didn't set foot in, because I don't know how loud the neighbors are, I don't know what the street noise is like. You've got to be there. Is everyone moving out of New York City to Florida? Look, people were going all over the United States in March and April, leaving New York City. Florida and California were two of the prime destinations. But the question now is, with rental prices going down, will a new crop of people be moving to New York City who never thought it possible before? And is this just one big cycle until the rent prices go up yet again? Honestly, I don't have the answer. It's something we're just gonna have to find out. All right, guys, as usual on videos like this, I want to know what life is like where you're watching, so please do leave me a comment, update me on the situation where you're at, and if you're considering moving to New York City in the next 3 to 6 months, do tell me down below as well. I want to know what your reasons are. Guys, as usual, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Smash that like button. I really appreciate it a lot. Until next time, guys.